Hey there. Welcome, Trauma Rock Stars. For those who have been following me, thank you so much. I just wanted to give a quick update because I realized I haven't really talked much post my MDMA therapy. I wanted to give a video about how the experience was. I had it, and it was such an incredible experience. I can't even tell you. I feel like, I don't know, without getting too far into it, I went in so nervous, as I mentioned in my previous videos. For those who have been listening up until now, when I first had heard about the MDMA therapy, I had been really more intrigued, I guess, than anything with it, because I just felt like this is pretty cool. Is it too good to be true kind of thing? Going in kind of just feeling, with a big question mark, I guess. I had done a lot of research, which I had previously shared, and the more I researched it, because I really went down a rabbit hole with it, the more intrigued I got, the more excited I got. And when I realized that the provider at this therapy center had approved me and had suggested that they thought MDMA was going to be the best treatment for me, I was beyond excited. And excited in a way that I think I said before, it's kind of like going up a roller coaster. You're creeping up to the top. You don't know what's going to happen. You're nervous, you're excited, you're scared. And that's exactly how I felt. So I had a couple sessions with Allie, my therapist, before, and we instantly, the psychiatrist at this therapy center, placed me with her. It couldn't have been a better fit. She was just so perfect for me, and I'm actually going to have her on to talk about what they do over there. It's amazing, some of the things that they're doing, but I just kind of want to go over my whole experience with it because it was really interesting, and I want to be really upfront and honest. So I went and had it done on a Saturday because it's really, really hard for me during the week to go do things like that. And I figured, my thought process, if I went Saturday, I would have Saturday night, Sunday to kind of recover, process, things like that, and just be ready and fresh for Monday morning. And I went in, and we get there. My boyfriend took me, of course, because I wasn't going to be able to drive after. And I walk in, and she's standing there, this joy of this beautiful person, just standing there waiting for me. And she literally is like, "Here you go." And she hands me the pill. And we were running a few minutes late because we got lost. So I was so nervous. I didn't even have time to think about it. I took the medicine, and I was, oh shit, there's no turning back now. And I look at her, and I look at my boyfriend. I'm like, okay, this is it. So he left because he wasn't going to stay for the session. This is something very private, and not that I'm hiding anything, but you just going through this, you just don't know what's going to happen, and you wouldn't typically just bring anybody into a therapy session anyway. So Allie brings me into this very soothing room. There was a treatment bed for me to sleep on when you go to a spa, that kind of thing. The room was really dim. There was really beautiful, fun lights going on, very, very relaxing and soothing. This very beautiful, soft guitar music playing in the background, just to kind of get you, and I just to kind of get your mind into the right place, And I look at her, and I'm like, okay, where do we go from here? She goes, well, let's just have an intention session, and let's talk about what you're trying to accomplish here, and let's talk about what we had talked about before about your accident and being sexually assaulted and all of that. So let's kind of talk about, and I said, to be honest, I don't have any specific expectations. I just want to see clearly and I guess have an understanding. I didn't know what that meant at the time. But about halfway after taking the medicine, I kind of started feeling something going on. It wasn't anything awkward or made me feel uncomfortable. I could just tell something was starting to kick in. So I look at her and I'm like, I think it's starting to kick in. And she goes, okay, so let's do some breathing work, which we did, which I'm very familiar because I do a lot of breathing work with my meditation and my yoga. And even with anxiety, the only way out of anxiety is through breath work. So I was very comfortable with that. We had our intention session and I said, I don't know what's going to come out. I don't know really what I want to come out. I want to come out what's supposed to come out. And I'm ready for it. And I'm excited. And I brought a journal with me. Obviously, I was laying on this bed. I had an eye patch on. And she gave me these headphones to wear that had this additional very soft, very, very soft, beautiful music. But it was so subtle. I could still talk to her, and she was in there with me the entire time during this. And about 45 minutes in, I knew it was kicking in because I could tell that my body was just kind of super loose, like really loosening up. And I wore really comfortable clothes. And it's so funny because now that I think about it, I should have taken off my bra and just been really relaxed, but I didn't. I was so rushed to get there and get started that I didn't even think straight. I think I would have been much more comfortable if I had taken my bra off, but that's fine. And I wore yoga pants and a t-shirt, and I actually recorded the entire session. So that is something I may share in the podcast, some bits and pieces of it later on. I haven't even fully gone through the whole thing myself because my session was actually almost 4 hours long. And so I haven't even taken the time to watch all of it. I've watched some of it, but I could feel that it was kicking in. And she's like, let's take some deep breaths. And she's like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you're thinking. Well, all of a sudden, all this stuff just started coming out. Things that I normally wouldn't talk about, things that it was kind of almost like I was reminiscing with my subconscious clear about things I hadn't thought about in years, probably since I was a child. And all this stuff just started coming out and I just rolled with it. I'm like, let things happen. So as I started talking about my car accident and even the sexual assault and things like that, she was guiding me. So I had given her my journal and I said, can you just please jot down notes for me as we're going through this, because I want to be able to reflect on it later, even though we were recording it. And so I would start talking about some certain things, and then it's almost like you're thinking so fast, but you're relaxed. You're so relaxed and chill and mellow, but you're thinking so fast, so things just kept blurting out. And she would be like, no, I'm going to write that down. We'll come back to that, but let's go back to where you were, because I want you to get past what we were first talking about, and then we'll start on this. And then I'd blurt out something else, and she'd jot that down. And she's like, no, let's stay focused. So she wasn't there to bring out anything in me. She was just there to guide me to stay on track, to get out what I needed to get out. Well, once it was fully kicked in, I started shaking, almost like when you're super cold, just your whole body just starts shaking. And it wasn't shaking that I was uncomfortable. It wasn't, I mean, I guess when you're shaking, you're uncomfortable, but I wasn't scared or afraid or anything. I was just like, what the hell is my body doing? And she's like, let this happen. I just kept having to be very relaxed, let things happen and roll with it, I guess. And so I got really comfortable and I just said, let the shaking happen if it needs to happen. She goes, Tracy, this is your nervous system. And this is what I've talked about understanding your nervous system. What does your body? This is your nervous system letting out everything that you've been carrying for 40 years. And once she said that to me, I was like, oh my gosh, I totally know that's why my body is shaking like this. It just, when you know, you know. And I knew it. And I was shaking, and I'm like, okay. And I just kept saying, let it out, let it out, let it out. And my whole body was just completely shaking through the whole thing. But it was a good thing. I wasn't shaking in a way that I was scared. It wasn't that I was like, I can't handle this. It wasn't anything like that. When she said to me, let your nervous system do this, because this is getting out the 40 years of trauma you've had in you, it almost felt so good. I was like, oh my gosh. So I just kept, once it made sense to me, I just kept saying, let it out, let it out. I wanted to just, if my whole body had to shake, I was getting almost like if you stick your foot, electrocute or something, your body shakes. I'm like, I almost wanted my body to shake more, because I just wanted to get this out of me. I knew there was so much in there. And so it was, but I was happy about it. So I don't want anybody to think that I was scared at all. I was happy about it. I was just like, yes, let it out, let it out, let it out. So going through that, and when I realized what my body was telling me and doing, and I was completely coherent. I remember everything while it was going on. I remember all the conversations we had. It's not like you're out of it. You're not hallucinating at all. It's just your mind. These things are coming out. And as I was going through all this, the one thing that kept coming back to me was anger. And it wasn't that I was getting angry during the process, because I wasn't. I was very relaxed and in a very, very calm state. Even with the shaking, I was calm. I wanted it to happen. It was, all this anger kept coming out. I just kept going back to it. And I realized that the anger was toward myself. I have been so angry and carrying this anger in me for all these years, because a lot of it was because I didn't know who I was. I was angry at myself because of the people I would let in my life, of the choices that I would make, of the partners I would choose, the friendships I would choose that didn't serve me, anything like that. It was like so much anger, because I just looked at it like, how could I have let all this time go by? I kept saying to her, I've wasted so much time, like not having the right people in my life and not feeling loved. That's, at the end of the day, we all want to be loved. And I don't want to feel like in a needy way. We want to be loved, and we want to know that we're respected and cared for, and that the people that we have in our lives, that we can trust them. I didn't tell anybody about this for 40 years. So I'm like, did I ever really trust anybody? I don't know, when you go through trauma, if I could have at the time. And I just kept saying, I feel like I want to go back. I want to go back to that 12-year-old little girl and just tell her that you are going to have this big, beautiful life. Just hang in there. You're going to get through this. And that just kept coming up. I just kept seeing myself as 12-year-old little girl, because that's how old I was when my accident happened. And I just kept wanting to give myself a hug and say, you are going to be fine. Just hang in there. I promise you, you're going to have this big, beautiful life. And when I realized that, it was almost like my whole life, all these years had flashed in front of me. I went back to my teenage years, in my 20s, my 30s, even my 40s, what have I been doing? What have I been doing it for? What have I gotten out of any of the stuff that I've done? And life is just such a journey. And I feel like until I started this whole healing journey, like really serious about it 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been ready to get to where I am. And now I've got the rest of my life to move forward, and I don't have to waste any more time. I can be my true authentic self. I mean, I'm not a different person. I'm still me, but I can be my true authentic self, but I can really see things more clearly. So when you go through this MDMA therapy, I've got to tell you, it is a gift. And this isn't for everybody. And that's why I always say just keep an open mind. But for me, this has been a gift. I can't even explain to you, not to sound all preachy. I'm just talking and telling how I feel. But it's almost like an awakening. I see things so clearly now, because when you get out of there, it doesn't shut back off. What it does is it turns on these endorphins and serotonin in your brain and all those happy things in your brain. And it doesn't shut off when it turns off, or it doesn't shut off when you leave. It continues. And it's interesting because before, I always felt like I had a really strong intuition, even though I made bad choices and I chose to have wrong people in my life or things like that. I still felt I had a strong intuition when it comes to other things. And now it is times 10. Before I was really sensitive to people's energies. I could just walk into a room and know right away if I didn't want to be there, if I wanted to be there. And now it's like I am so in tune with the energy around me, and I'm so extra hypersensitive to it. And when I left the treatment that day, Allie said to me, she's like, "You're going to be really tired over the weekend, and it's been a lot on your brain. It's going to take time to process. So I want you to journal," which I've started journaling ever since then. And it's been really helpful for me. But she goes, the next couple weeks, even month, things are going to come out, because now I've had this awakening. Things are going to come out, and boy, have they. I am seeing things. So not seeing things like seeing things. I'm not psychic at all. I'm just seeing things so much more clearly and from a different lens that it's unbelievable. Like there has been, now believe me, since I had this done, I haven't been on cloud 9, happy-go-lucky, like you think it turns that back on and you're just happy forever. No, you still are going through trauma. Like you never get through it. It's always a journey. And I've had some bad days. I've had setbacks because I have had some things that have presented themselves to me. I have had some things and some people that have presented themselves to me that I haven't liked, that I've never seen before. And I've been at the point where I don't have room for things like that in my life anymore. And I'm starting to share this with the people that are closest to me, friends of mine that I've known my entire life, that I've been sharing this with, and the support I've been getting has been unbelievable. And one thing that I feel is really interesting is when I was in high school and I was sexually assaulted, that didn't even really come up. A lot came up for me as far as my cousins dying, and after I had my accident when I was 16, my other cousin, who was like sister to me, we were the same age, she was killed in a drinking and driving car accident that happened when I was 16 years old. And that came up, like their lives. So my cousins who died in my accident, their lives came up, and they're the people that in my family that have been affected by that. Those things came up, and wondering what could have been, things like that, if that stuff hadn't happened. And I've always said my life is no important than anybody else's. And I feel those are the kind of things that came up. The sexual assault, I think that is something that at the time it was so devastating, and I've been carrying that with me for so long. And I feel like I'm past that part. But now what I have to do is I have to deal with a few things that have come up, that some regret and some remorse and things like that. I keep going back to the anger, like the anger of the time that I've wasted. And I've always said my scars are where I've been. They're not where I'm going or where I intend to be. But there's things about that and the suffering and what I've been through that I need to just give myself some time to realize how far I actually have come. Actually, my journal, I'm going to read this cover of the journal that I bought, says, "Always remember, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and loved more than you know." And this love needs to come from me. I need to love myself. I'm not going to expect that from other people. You want this love, and you've got to give it to yourself. That's where the key is. So going through the MDMA, I almost feel like, I know I said that it was a gift for me, and I feel like I have like this secret the world needs to know. This therapy is so profound, and it puts you so in touch with who you are and puts you at peace with everything that you've been through in your life. And I really am at peace with that. I think the things there's all these things that have been popping up since then, because now my mind's open. So when they do, I need to stop and think, okay, what is that about? And I need to come to terms with that. So it's been such an amazing experience. I'm done, one and done. I do not need any more of the treatment. Typically, MDMA is just that. You have a treatment depending on you, and a lot of people are one and done. But now that I know, honestly, how deep I can get into my subconscious and pull out these beautiful thoughts and clarity in life, I almost want to just do it one more time, just to get the last of it out. And if there's anything left in my nervous system that needs to come out, get that out, because it's such a release. It's just a huge, beautiful, cleansing release in your body. And so I might do that. And I have had some sessions with Allie since then, and I'm really, really, really in touch with my body and listening to what my body's telling me. Like talking to you right now, I have a little bit of butterflies in my stomach, but it's because I'm excited to share this with you. That's why. And I want to read a few things. I brought my journal because she was jotting a lot down during the session. So I did want to bring a couple things up that she was jotting down. And one thing when I was shaking like that is, and I had brought up like all this anger, because the anger wasn't toward anybody else. It was just toward myself. But I think a lot of it is just because you don't know what you don't know. This is why we need to give ourselves a break. But one thing that she kept saying is release the anger. As this is coming out of my nervous system, she's like, really focus on letting that anger go, and self-forgiveness. Like self-forgiveness is huge for me, because no one's like, I don't have to forgive myself. Well, yeah, we do. I at least did. I need to forgive myself for mistakes I've made, for the relationships I chose to have, things like that. I needed I needed to do that. So she jotted that down for me. And there's some other little things that have come up that I need to talk to some people about that I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but those are things that I normally wouldn't have thought about or done that I'm going to be doing. And she wrote on here, "You are a little miracle." She never even said that during the session. She just wrote in here, "You are a little miracle." And when I came home and saw that, I was so touched that she wrote that, because I guess I am. Like, how did I survive that accident and go through being burned on 70% of my body, 12 years old? I mean, I probably was 80 pounds, 90 pounds, and burned on 70% of my body. Like, how do you survive, survive, and why? Why do you survive? Well, I survived because I think I'm going to talk to the world about this, and whoever wants to listen, I'm here. And I want to be somebody that people can turn to in this platform, for people to turn to. One thing that I think was really interesting, and I've always been very sad about everything, my accident, and then having to be sexually assaulted after that, and then my cousin dying in that accident when she was 16. We grew up together, and I think my life was so busy, and I kept it so busy. I never really had time to grieve. So I think a part of me needs to give myself some of that time to grieve, because we all grieve in different ways. And I feel, one thing, I was very, very, very close with my grandmother, and she's passed away, but I was very, very close with her. And this is something that I think she would have freaked out if I told her I was going through this MDMA therapy. But after I went through it and was talking, I feel like I would talk to her. I'm talking right now, and I told her everything. I think that she would just be in tears, absorbing it all. And because I could talk to her about anything. And I feel like this would have been something that I would have really loved to have shared with her, because this is such a huge part of my life. And after I had my car accident, we were so close. And after I had my car accident, she literally had a heart attack. So she was in the hospital, and she ended up having to have her own recovery after that. So I think that being able to tell her about this, but I feel like somehow she knows. I felt like she was in the room with me when I was going through this. And I do feel her sometimes around me. Just, I'm like, oh, I feel like she's around. But this would have been something for me to share with her. And I think I need to just grieve that I can't do that. There's people that I can't talk to about this stuff, and some because they're deceased, or some people I just can't. They just won't understand, and that's fine. You're going to have people like that in your life. But I think grief and trauma is something I was grieving that little girl, that 12-year-old lost little girl. I've been so lost, even as an adult now, and I need to grieve that kid, because she was incredible, and she's still incredible. I'm here now, and I need to go ahead and get past that, which I have done, but that was a big part of it. And I said, we all need to just give ourselves a big hug. And then I started journaling like crazy. I even bought myself some stickers and stuff of encouragement to put in my journal, because I like colory things, and it helps me get through. But I feel, I don't know, I just hope this helps somebody. There is other alternatives out there. If you are feeling lost, if you're feeling like there's nothing out there that can help you, there are things that can help you. Sometimes just being a part of a community like this is all somebody needs, just to know that there's people out there that understand and that care. I never in a million years thought I would find anybody that could understand what I've been through. And I finally have. My boyfriend is somebody who, he actually understands what I've been through, because he's been through trauma, and he actually was burned. And so he knows what that feels like. And I just feel like your people are out there and they're waiting for you. The world is waiting for you to tell your story. I want people to understand that this is something that this is part of the healing, like talking about it. And I'm sitting in a room by myself talking about this, but I know that somebody's going to hear this and they're going to absorb it, and somehow, some way it's going to help them. I might never know about it, but it will. But I think being able to talk about this and be open and go through this process is so important. And now I'm creating this platform. Like, my story is important. What I've been through is important. What you've been through is important. There's thousands and thousands of different kinds of traumas, guys. There's no trauma that's too small. There's no trauma that is too big. There's people that have been through 10 times worse things than I have. I feel like this community is going to be so therapeutic for so many. And I don't want you to think, well, I got teased when I was little and I'm still affected by it, or my mom called me fat and I've never felt beautiful since then. That's a trauma. There's nothing, that is not small. These are things that you should talk about, because I think a lot of people don't realize the things they hang on to and it affects them. And so please, please, please keep an open mind. This MDMA has been a game changer for me. I knew it. I knew as soon as I read about it, I just knew in my gut that this was gonna work for me. And it's been unbelievable. So I'm just sharing a little bit of it. Thank you so much for being a part of this again, and your support means so much to me. I've been getting so much positive feedback, and people calling me and texting and emailing, and people I haven't talked to in years are reaching out. And it's just the stories that people are telling me that they remember about me, and how this is starting conversations with friends and families. This is just such a blessing, and thank you so much. We are all trauma rock stars. Don't tell yourself anything different. You are a trauma rock star. You're brave, you're courageous, and this community is here for you. And thank you so, so much for your support.
The content on this podcast revolves around personal life experiences and is meant to serve as a learning tool. I'm not a certified therapist or medical expert. This podcast does not offer medical or psychological or professional advice. If you're curious about your mental and physical well-being, feel free to reach out to a licensed healthcare professional for assistance.